The latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday. So if you are new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's take a look at the chat here and see what is happening. Robert says hello, and thank you very much for joining us once again. Lord Spud says when CSE merge. Lots of merch coming your way very, very soon. We have those goodie bags that I can share this with you now. Hold on. We have some goodie bags here, and if you interact with our social media channels on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube, you could get in the chance to win one of these, and they've come with lots of goodies inside. You get some notepads here. We also have some air fresheners here, and we have lots of other good stuff as well, some pens. Actually, I think we've got nicer pens than this since we started. Anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the world of crypto. We have Bitcoin currently trading at, let's take a look at this, $30,388, up 1.31% in the last 24 hours. We've seen a little bit of a nice move this morning. Been looking at Bitcoin, it's been sideways. It's not been very good. We've had some downwards action within the last couple of days, and then this morning, Bitcoin's decided it's time to try again at hitting that level of resistance. So I'm definitely happy with the price of Bitcoin this morning. Let's see what's going on here. Jason Smith said international shipping. I believe so, but don't quote me on that. I'll need to ask about that. Lord Spud might know the answer. So if Lord Spud replies in the chat, you'll be able to find out. Let's have a sip of coffee this morning. Hello and welcome to everybody, and thank you very much for joining as always. What do you guys think about the new setup? We've got the new purple lights here. Let me know what you think. I need to change it up a little bit. I want maybe a Bitcoin logo on the side. Anyway, let's get into today's cryptocurrency news. So we are today going to be talking about what's going on in the cryptocurrency markets. We'll take a look at the latest cryptocurrency news, and we'll take a look at the price of Bitcoin as well. Today we are going to be talking about Tesla. We're going to be talking about having Bitcoin as legal tender, and then we're talking about everything else that's going on in crypto. Lots to discuss as always, so let's get straight into it. First of all, we are talking about Tesla. Now, Tesla have been hodling their Bitcoin, so they have $184 million worth of Bitcoin, and their Q2 reports that they did not make any changes to their Bitcoin holdings. They've managed to continue to hold throughout the turbulence of the times in the markets. Now, Tesla's Bitcoin holdings are worth more, so the data shows that Tesla currently holds around 10,725 Bitcoin in its balance sheet, the equivalent of $323 million at the time of writing. So according to a disclosure filing with the SEC, the company initially acquired $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin in Feb 2021. Later that year, in July, the company sold off $272 million of its holding, followed by a larger sale worth $936 million, or 75% of the balance, but they are still holding $323 million worth. And Musk has said, we are certainly open to increasing our Bitcoin holdings in the future, so this should not be taken as some verdict on Bitcoin. It's just that we were concerned about overall liquidity for the company, given COVID shutdowns in China. So they are still looking at Bitcoin and seeing this as a positive thing. Let's keep an eye on that. Let's see. Bruce says, this is a great night. Just watched TMG trades. Now we got CSC. It's a good night. That sounds like a nice evening plan. Let's see what's going on in the crypto news. We'll continue with this. Before we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. This is the most Friday feeling Thursday I've ever had in my life. It really feels like a Friday today. Let's take a look at this. James Perks says Elon likes Hex. Does he like Hex? James Perks also says pulse change would look great on your wall. We need a big Bitcoin logo on the wall, I think. Oh, what we do need on the wall behind me is the big YouTube plaque that you get for receiving 100,000 subscribers. So if we want to get that, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let's see what's going on in the rest of the news here. We need to talk about Bitcoin being a legal tender. Now, the IMF once again warned against this. So we've got an article here. Crypto as legal tender poses financial instability and inflation risks, warns IMF. So the IMF has provided several recommendations to protect fiat currencies from the challenges posed by crypto assets, reiterating that digital assets should not be given official currency status. Now, the IMF have said over and over again the concerns they have around cryptocurrency. In their latest blog post, crypto needs comprehensive policies to protect economies and investors. The IMF explains why they are calling for more global standards to govern the crypto industry. So they have said crypto could replace official currencies. They've said crypto, especially fiat-pegged stablecoins, could potentially replace official currencies and significantly impact countries' monetary and fiscal policies. They've also said regarding El Salvador, who have made Bitcoin a legal tender. We have El Salvador that have made Bitcoin a legal tender, the Central African Republic, and we have seen also in 2021 the IMF warned El Salvador of what is perceived, I'm getting a phone call right now, what is perceived as the underlying risk to financial integrity and stability, fiscal sustainability, and consumer protection. So we've seen all of these concerns from the IMF. We've seen this for quite a while. They're not very, they seem very concerned about cryptocurrency. They're not very pro-cryptocurrency. And if we take a look at what is being said in this article, it would show that maybe this isn't correct. Maybe El Salvador have taken the right path. So this article from Crypto Slate shows how El Salvador's Bitcoin experiment sees slow adoption but crime reduction. Now, a lot of people look at cryptocurrency and blame cryptocurrency for crime. In fact, the BlackRock CEO said in 2017 that Bitcoin is an index for money laundering. Now, we all know he has changed his mind since then, but a lot of people still have that opinion, and it's becoming a pretty old opinion right now. We're all getting a bit bored of it. Calling Bitcoin an index for money laundering or just a payment system for criminals is absolutely ridiculous. It is a cross-border payment system. The benefits that Bitcoin can provide is incredible, and people that can't understand that are going to be too late to this game, and they're going to miss out on some massive opportunities here. So what we have seen here is we've got a list of benefits that Bitcoin have provided for El Salvador today. So we have seen slow adoption. Now we can see here very few people in El Salvador are actually using Bitcoin on a day-to-day basis. According to this article, less than 2% of remittances flow through Bitcoin, even after the government rolled out Chivo ATMs across the United States. We can also see most people don't feel that Bitcoin benefits them. It's largely not an accepted medium of exchange in El Salvador, despite the promotion on the part of the government. However, we have seen the amount of crime. Let's get to the point. The Bitcoin law has reduced crime substantially, which he called a massive improvement in quality of life. Recent surveys show that 80% of Salvadorians believe crime has fallen under Bukel's administration, and citizens say they feel safer going out at night for the first time. So human rights worries. So we are seeing concerns here. Now, the reasons why people in El Salvador may not use Bitcoin in their day-to-day life is because the volatility in Bitcoin. But as I always say, I mean, we are going to see volatility in the markets. This is cryptocurrency at the end of the day. But as time goes on, is that volatility going to decline? Probably. Every single bull market, we see the amount of gains in the bull market decline. We can't see these 4-year cycles where we see over 1,000% gain in Bitcoin over and over again. I do believe we have a huge amount of potential still, and we have a huge amount of adoption yet to occur. But once we've seen that adoption and the market cap increases drastically, then the amount of upside potential is going to reduce, and the amount of downside risk is going to reduce. And we're going to actually see Bitcoin at its fair market value. And at that point, yes, we'll see volatility like we still do with gold and like silver, with other commodities, but the amount of volatility in Bitcoin will drastically decline. And with that, people will feel more secure in using it for day-to-day lives. But right now, would you want to spend your Bitcoin on a coffee? Would you like to become the pizza man that spent 10,000 Bitcoin on pizzas years ago, which is now worth millions and millions of dollars? People that buy Bitcoin want to hold their Bitcoin, and people in El Salvador don't want to be spending their Bitcoin when it's so volatile, and they don't want to be holding their value in Bitcoin when it's so volatile either. So that it still does have those issues of becoming a legal tender at this point. It's just too volatile, I believe, to have this as an asset in your day-to-day life, but in the long term we are going to see more adoption of it, I believe, and that is why I'm a huge fan of it, and we are going to see people be able to use it and feel more secure in their holdings. But right now we have that volatility, and it is exciting volatility, but as adoption occurs, as the market cap increases, that volatility will decline like it does with all different assets. Let's take a look at what's going on in the chat today. Good morning, Sylvia Drifter. Good morning, Anthony. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, if you have not already, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. Let's have another sip of coffee this morning, and then we'll be ready to go. My coffee's very cold this morning. Let's see what's going on in the rest of the cryptocurrency news. So we have a lot more to discuss today. First of all, Crypto Saving Expert have done a review on the Ledger Nano X. Now, if you are a Ledger user, I would recommend checking this article out. And if you're not a Ledger user, but you would like to buy a hardware wallet, check it out. We also have, actually, if you go onto the website and you search hardware wallets, we should have an article in here. What are the best next-gen hardware wallets? 5 of the best hardware wallets available right now. So if you're looking for a hardware wallet, check out this article with all of the best hardware wallets in our opinion. We go through them all, we rank them all, and we tell you all of the different benefits. Let's continue on with this. I would also like to add on that actually before we do. We are entering a point right now which seems very exciting for the cryptocurrency space. And right now, I think it's more important than ever to keep your Bitcoin safe. Store it somewhere safe. You don't want to be looking back at, I mean, a lot of people have lost their funds in a lot of the different problems that occurred in 2022. FTX is a brilliant example of that. A lot of people were holding their assets in FTX and no longer have access to that. We saw the same in Mt. Gox in 2012. You need to be keeping your Bitcoin safe. You don't want to be one of these people like the people from Mt. Gox that are looking at the value of what their Bitcoin could have become, but they don't have it because they lost access to it because they weren't storing it somewhere safely. Storing your cryptocurrency safely is something you really need to spend a lot of time on right now, because we're heading into this huge volatile time, and you just want to make sure it's better to be safe than sorry. And I cannot express that enough. A lot of people spend a lot of time researching the different altcoins and what to invest into, but if you're not storing your cryptocurrency safely, you're going to you're taking a huge risk, and that is a risk that you do not need to take. We are in cryptocurrency so that we have control of our own funds. Self-custody is one of the main reasons people move into cryptocurrency, yet centralized exchanges are still so popular. Centralized exchanges are great to make trades, to use leverage, to make transactions really quickly and swap between tokens really quickly. But if you're holding for the long term, store your cryptocurrency safely. Also, if you want to spend time understanding how you can be safe with your cryptocurrency, make sure to go over to our courses on cryptosavingexpert.com. If you go to the Crypto 101 section, there is a Safety 101 course in here, I believe. Let's see if we can find it in here. We've got lots of courses in this category here. There is a course in here called Safety somewhere. Online Safety. Here we go. It's a 20-minute course there, but it's got a huge amount of modules that will teach you how to stay safe online, and it's really, really important to do so. James says, morning from Portugal by the pool. Living the life, James. That is exactly what I want to be doing this morning. As I was saying, this feels like the most Friday, Thursday ever. The sun is shining and I'm ready for the weekend, but we've got one more day to go. Let's see here. Lord Spud says, international shipping will be available as well as crypto payments. So very exciting there. If you want to get your hands on some merch anywhere across the world, you will be able to do so very, very soon. Let's continue with the next cryptocurrency news article and see what is going on. Please don't forget, if you have not already, to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. In this article, we are talking about the spot Bitcoin ETFs. We've had multiple different filings from companies all around the world filing for a spot Bitcoin ETF. So essentially, this is an exchange-traded fund. It's a fund that holds Bitcoin and allows traditional investors to get exposure to the cryptocurrency space throughout their traditional manners, how they traditionally trade assets and invest in assets. They'll be able to get exposure to crypto without having to create an account for a centralized exchange, KYC, AML, and then learn how to store it safely. They can just get exposure in the way they usually do. So this is something that traditional investors will feel very very happy about, and it may create a huge amount of adoption for Bitcoin. If you take a look at the effect a gold ETF had on the price of gold, you can see that it was huge. The price of gold increased massively in the long term off the back of that ETF. And it was actually BlackRock that created the first spot Bitcoin ETF in the US, I believe. So we are seeing what could be the same effect here. Now, a lot of people call Bitcoin digital gold. I think it is digital gold and more. The benefits of it being we have borderless payments. I mean, the benefits that Bitcoin can bring. I mean, we could go on about that forever, but what we are seeing here is if you take a look at what happened to Bitcoin, we could potentially, if these ETFs get accepted, see a similar result for Bitcoin. So definitely do some research into that if you have not already. It's a really nice chart to look at. It makes you feel very positive. If we're having a down day, there's some nice figures there to take a look at to increase your spirits, improve your spirits. Let's see what's here. So 7 Bitcoin ETF proposals are awaiting the SEC's decision, with 1 pending publication. So 6 have been published onto the Federal Register, with 1 expecting to be published on Monday, I think it says in this article. What we have here is the SEC now have 45 days to either reject or accept these applications, and then they could extend this to 90 days, it says somewhere in this article. Here we go. So the SEC has an initial time frame of 45 days to either reject or approve the applications, but the deadline could be extended to 90 days if it finds such a longer period to be appropriate and publishes its reasons for so finding. So we can see here it will be hard to resist the latest Bitcoin ETF proposals. The publication of the proposals comes weeks after the SEC turned back the filings due to a lack of clarity around the surveillance sharing arrangement. This requirement would check against fraud and manipulation, which was one major concern the SEC had with previous filings. So with that concern now addressed, there are speculations that the US could eventually see a spot Bitcoin approved later this year or next, though such a decision by the SEC is not guaranteed. Now, we have seen so far, BlackRock have filed for over 500 ETFs in its time, and only 1 has been rejected. And then in terms of spot Bitcoin ETFs, we've seen 33, I'd like to say 33, something around that number, and all of them have been rejected. So is BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF going to get accepted? Is Fidelity's ETF going to get accepted? I imagine if all of these 7 ETFs all get accepted at similar times, we are going to see some insane volatility in the markets. I always say I have not seen as much volatility ever as when Bitcoin crossed $20,000 at the start of the previous bull market. The price of Bitcoin absolutely soared, and it was similar to how it acted when BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF filing began. But it just went on and on and on. And I think if this actually gets accepted, we're going to see some insane volatility. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out. I'm of the opinion that there's a high probability BlackRock will get this spot Bitcoin ETF. Whether it gets rejected a few times and they need more clarity on a few things, there is a possibility for that. But overall, in the long term, I think this is definitely a positive thing for Bitcoin. So we can see here, James says, Mt. Gox was the easiest way to store at the time. Very few air-gapped wallets. Most were just paper. Exactly, yeah. The Mt. Gox was, it was one of the first Bitcoin exchanges. It was managing around 70 or 80% of Bitcoin transactions at the time. And Bitcoin at that time was so small that people were getting into it and understanding the risks, but also we have so many options now, and we have so much more awareness of what can go wrong. We have examples more recently of FTX causing problems and many other companies last year causing problems. So when we look at it now and we have all of this equipment available and all of this information easy to find, it's so much easier to store your Bitcoin safely nowadays. At that time, the information about Bitcoin, there was stuff out there, but there wasn't as much as there is now. And of course, we have the Crypto Saving Expert website that educates you exactly on what you need to know for everything about storing your cryptocurrency safe. So make sure to check that out. But let's take a look at the next article now and see what else is going on. Please don't forget to like today's stream and subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest crypto news. We can see here that Apple is entering the generative AI arena with an in-house Apple GPT. So Apple is reportedly building its own AI tools to rival OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Bard, and other generative AIs. Now, let me know in the chat, have you used much AI software that isn't ChatGPT? I've had a go at Google's Bard, but it's just not really doing the same for me as ChatGPT. I don't know if it's just because ChatGPT was the first one I've used and it's the one I've used the most. But they've all got their differences, and it's working out which one you prefer. Apple may bring along something that's even better. They seem to do that over and over again, in my opinion. However, the AI tools are only available to Apple employees at this point in time. Really cool AI-generated image there as well. If you've not tried out AI, I would recommend you do so. It is really fun to just try out all the different tools. All of the images on the Crypto Saving Expert website are AI-generated here, so you can see this one's generated from Midjourney, and an apple looking kind of robotic there. Let's see what's going on in this article though. So California-based Apple has thrown its hat into the AI arena, and the popular hardware and software company is reportedly quietly working on AI tools to challenge OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Bard, and similar generative AI tools. So that's just for in-house people at the moment, but I'm sure in the long term they'll be looking to extend that and offer their services. Apple are one of those companies that just will not be left behind in anything tech. They are always trying to get involved and always trying to make the first move, and always seem to be the company that managed to break through into, we've seen Meta bring the digital glasses, and it didn't really have the spark that they expected, I think. But now Apple have created their new headset, VR headset. Is that something that's going to actually get adopted in mainstream? I don't know yet. It's got a hefty price tag on it, but it looks pretty cool. It does look pretty cool. Let me know in the chat if that's something you would want to try out, the headset. It's an interesting one. It's kind of died down since the announcement came out, but I'm sure when they all start to get sold next year, we'll see a lot more excitement around those. Let's see what else is going on though in the crypto news. So POX Labs, the development team behind the Manta network, raised $25 million in a Series A funding round. Again, we are seeing funding rounds for huge valuations over and over again in cryptocurrency, and it's nice to see this, that people are investing in cryptocurrency projects during these uncertain times. A lot of people are fearful of what's to come towards the end of the year, but we are still seeing people wanting to get involved in this space, get exposure to the space, and investing in projects, allowing them that opportunity to grow and build throughout the next bull market. But let's see what else is going on in today's stream. Before we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button. Here we have the US Senate seeks to regulate DeFi protocols like banks in its new bill. So the bill will mandate anyone that controls a DeFi protocol to collect users' information and block sanctioned users. So what we are seeing here is what's going to cause a problem. Will it cause a problem for DeFi? It's a decentralized financial network. If they are operating on Ethereum. So the US Senate is pushing a new bill to impose stringent anti-money laundering regulations on crypto businesses, including DeFi protocols. We have seen KYC and AML protocols launch in many different centralized exchanges, and these centralized exchanges are trying to follow the regulation as best as they can. But with DeFi, regulating them becomes a little bit trickier. We don't have a central authority. DeFi protocols still have a core team that work on them, so that this bill would say that core team would be responsible for ensuring that their DeFi protocol abides by all of these rules. But actually regulating something like this is really, really tricky. So the senators intend to fight the rise in crypto-facilitated crime and close off avenues for the evasion of money laundering and sanctions measures that are critical to our national security, per the document. Now, I've got a question here. Currently, in our current systems, we have bank accounts, and our bank accounts, obviously, we KYC, we AML, we use our debit cards wherever we want, but we can go to a cash point. We can take out cash, and we can do anything we want to do with our cash without any trace. Now, if in cryptocurrency, we have all of this regulation around centralized exchanges, so we have to KYC on these centralized exchanges, we can then move our cryptocurrency off centralized exchanges, and we can move it across DeFi however we want. We have the blockchain, which is transparent. Yes, we have cryptocurrency mixers. Yes, we have privacy coins. But if we use cryptocurrency mixers and we have privacy coins, they have as much transparency as cash. And that is a very, very small proportion of cryptocurrency users. Typically, cryptocurrency users will KYC, get their money onto crypto through centralized exchanges, and then use the blockchain in a transparent manner. So we have that transparency already there. I think regulating DeFi is the wrong way to go with this. If they want to regulate anything, regulating centralized exchanges is something that's important for the space. We have seen that with FTX, but regulating those also brings that transparency around the entire blockchain, because if you KYC with a centralized exchange and you move your funds, you can still navigate that. You can still view that. The blockchain is transparent. Cash is not a transparent asset to be trading with either. So coming down on cryptocurrency in this way may not be the best way for this, but there's a lot of angles to go with this one. Regulating DeFi is just a really difficult thing to do. I don't think there's going to be, well, we'll see what comes of this bill. Let's continue with this and see what else is going on. So Assassin's Creed studio Ubisoft that was a tongue twister, becomes Cronos, a Validator and crypto gaming partnership. That's a hard title. That's a long title, that. So Cronos blockchain has revealed details of their key partnership with the gaming publisher Ubisoft, creators of Assassin's Creed, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon and Just Dance. Oh, Just Dance, I know that one. I'm not really into the gaming side of things, so in terms of crypto gaming, I have to get some of the boys' opinion in crypto saving expert. Let's see what's going on here. So the successful gaming studio Ubisoft is continuing to explore blockchain technology despite the negative opinions of gamers in Western countries towards crypto and NFTs. So this is something that's really important. As I always say, I think at the moment cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency users are sat in this bubble where we all say cryptocurrency is great, but we section ourselves off and we are not getting the adoption that cryptocurrency deserves because we are all happy to just echo each other in this small bubble. But instead, we need to be working on breaking into traditional industries and bridging people from Web 2 to Web 3, getting people that aren't already in the space involved in cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, and understanding the technology is the way that we can gain adoption. And seeing companies that aren't necessarily Web 3 companies get involved in cryptocurrency and use the blockchains is something that we should really welcome as a cryptocurrency user. Let's continue with the next article here and see what else is going on. So Chinese authorities seize millions in crypto as yuan depreciation and outflows persist. So the Chinese yuan has reached an exchange rate of 7-1 with the dollar and is currently 6.5% weaker than a year ago. So they have seized millions in crypto as yuan depreciation and outflows persist. What we can see here is Chinese police seize millions in crypto and yuan depreciates as outflows persist there as well. So I will be dropping the link to this in today's chat. This is a really, really interesting article. I would definitely recommend you read this one. So what we can see here is a 6.5% decline against the dollar in 1 year. Now, earlier this week, police officers in Jingmen were in talks about an online gambling case where cryptocurrencies are being used to bypass Chinese regulation. This is the kind of news we don't want to hear. Yes, we have cryptocurrency problems, but it's the amount of people that use cryptocurrency but for bad things is actually proportionally very, very low, and we see that in the statistics. But it's always these stories that manage to hit the main headlines, isn't it? These ones that say cryptocurrency is being used for bad. But here we are anyway. Let's continue with the next article here and see what else is going on. XRP will eventually edge out Tether from the number 3 spot. Let me know your XRP price predictions in the chat today. It's an interesting one. I saw BitBoy tweeted yesterday that he could see XRP reaching $35, which is a massive market cap. Huge prediction there. I'm not sure that I could see it moving that high in this bull market. We need to see a huge amount of adoption for the cryptocurrency space for that to occur. But XRP is the banking coin right now. XRP, having won that case in court against the SEC, has had a nice move to the upside. Now the SEC lawsuit is not over, but it's definitely heading in the right direction. If the SEC lawsuit does come to an end in favor of XRP, which is something that is looking pretty probable right now, then what we could see is a huge amount of banks wanting to work with XRP and therefore a huge amount of excitement in the traditional space about cryptocurrencies like XRP as well. Bruce says XRP to $4. Interesting price predictions here. So let's take a look at what else is going on in this article. I'll drop this one in the chat and then we'll continue on to the next one here to see what else is going on. So we can see here Ethereum's $1.9 thousand support holds as ICO whale transfers $116.8 million worth of ETH to Kraken. Now, let's talk about this one. I actually didn't know this article was in today's stream. I have been researching this though. So Ethereum's whale, this is somebody that managed to buy into Ethereum during the ICO, so its initial coin offering. So when Ethereum first launched, the person who owns these tokens was investing. This is when they bought these tokens. So they've got 60,000 Ethereum in their wallets, and they've just moved it to Kraken. So this is from a wallet belonging to a whale that participated in its 2014 ICO. Is this something to be concerned about? That's the big question here. Typically, when we see people moving their assets, if we see, for example, institutions or companies moving their assets into an exchange, we get concerned. If we see whales moving their assets into an exchange, we get concerned. Now, this is an Ethereum whale, so to speak. It is somebody that's been bought into the ICO in 2014, so that gives them some sort of reputation as a knowledgeable character in the space if they've managed to buy in at those prices so low and so early in the cryptocurrency space. Everybody looks at them like they're this big knowledgeable character. Is this something to be concerned about for us? The amount of money that this is worth, so they've transferred $116 million, that's not enough to affect the markets. What is enough to affect the markets is the selling pressure coming off the fear of this article. Now, we see this over and over again. Bitcoin, the US government seized a huge amount of Bitcoin, and they said they were going to dump that Bitcoin in 4 slots. Now, they dumped some Bitcoin, and then they announced, oh, by the way, we dumped some Bitcoin, and we've got 3 more times that we are going to dump the same amount of Bitcoin onto the markets. Now, if you take a look at what happened on the markets, I think it was the 14th of March or the 14th of February that they dumped their first amount of Bitcoin. It had no effect on the markets. I mean, it was a volatile day, but the day actually finished green. And then they said, hey, by the way, we've just dumped some Bitcoin, and we're going to do it again. The markets absolutely fell through the floor because the fear of selling assets seems to impact the price more than the actual sale of these assets. And we can see this again with this Ethereum sale. Now, obviously, we don't know why this person's chose to sell at these points. It seems like the cryptocurrency market is starting to heat up and get very excited. So why buy an ICO and then choose to sell just towards the end of a bear market? So also, it seems, who knows? We don't know the answers to that question. But is that $116 million going to affect the price of Ethereum? Probably not. Is the fear of this dump going to affect the markets? Potentially. We have retail investors out there that would want to sell off this news and buy in lower, but is that always going to be the case? Are they going to manage to do that? Who knows? But let's continue with today's news and see what else is going on. So we have, in the next article here, Binance destroys $482 million worth of BNB in its latest quarterly coin burn. So Binance regularly burns BNB tokens, reducing the circulating supply and artificially increasing the value of BNB. Continuing with this, inflation in the UK has dropped to 7.9% in a surprising turn of events, so it says. So this decline comes after persistent price surges that have been putting strain on households and businesses. Now, the cost of living crisis is at an all-time high right now in the UK, but we can see the ONS states that the drop had exceeded forecasts for a decline from 8.7% in May to an estimated 8.2% in June, but we actually managed to see 7.9%. So that's a nice 0.8% decline for inflation in the UK following what's happened in the US. Hopefully the UK's inflation will see something similar. The US has seen continuous decline in their inflation rates, and hopefully the UK sees something similar. But let's continue with the price of Bitcoin. Now, let's take a look at the charts and see what's happening. I'll drop the link for that in the chat if any of you are from the UK or interested to hear what is going on in the UK right now. You can check out that article. Taking a look at what is happening for Bitcoin here. Bitcoin has seen a nice move to the upside, as we said in yesterday's stream. Let's pull this line back up here. We have a level of support at 29,500, and we managed to use that as a support there. And then we continued up. We actually did use that level of support as a support again, as predicted in yesterday's stream. And then we have this level of resistance here that we've been talking about. Now, this is from the $30,300 level to the $30,400 level. Right now, it is acting like a level of resistance. So are we going to come back down and retest this point at 29.8? Potentially. That's something we need to keep an eye on. But fingers crossed, this bullish momentum doesn't come to an end and we start to see some movements to the upside. So let's take a look at some indicators here. Let's take a look at the RSI. Let's take a look at the MACD. Let's see what's going on there on the smaller time frames. Let's take a look at the hourly chart. MACD is showing bullish momentum. RSI is showing slightly overbought. 4-hour chart, we're seeing bullish momentum increasing on the Bitcoin chart and some neutral price indications there from RSI. So overall, maybe this is the turn of events we needed. We typically see with Bitcoin a nice crash before a nice rise. And the same happens here. Look, we moved back down to this lower level of support, but not until it had wicked out and got loads of long positions open so it could liquidate them. We see Bitcoin. It's steady, and then it likes to get very, very choppy before it breaks to either direction. It does that over and over again. As I always say, Bitcoin takes the path of most pain, and taking the path of most pain means liquidating as many leverage traders as possible. And that is seemingly to be what Bitcoin is doing right now. The markets seem really uncertain. In fact, let's take a look at the Fear and Greed Index and see what that's on this morning. Let's pull this into the chat here. So we are currently at 56. It seems that a lot of people are uncertain right now with which way Bitcoin is going to go, and this choppy price action is not making it any clearer until we see a break of that big set level of resistance up here or that level of support down here. Then we'll have to just wait and see. But what I would like to say is this big wick here, on price movement here, came off the back of XRP winning in that court decision about whether it was a security or not. And when we see news like this cause a huge impact in the price, it is very common that that price increase doesn't last forever and it becomes an outlier in the data. So we need to relook at this, but I am still looking at that level of 31.2 being the point at which if we break through that in normal price action, not off the back of a huge news story, then that is when we can start feeling really positive again. But until then, we are still seeing some price action. I can't believe we're still in this price range. Bitcoin has been so sideways for the last couple of weeks. We got into this price range on the 21st of June. Tomorrow, it's going to have been 1 month of being within this $2,000 price range here from 31.5 to 29.5. We're looking at this. Oh, this is actually something we were expecting on the channel. I've been saying this for a while now. The Bitcoin halving is not till April 2024. Typically, the year prior to a Bitcoin halving is net bullish. From April this year to April next year, that would indicate that we are going to see a price increase. In April this year, the price of Bitcoin was $30,000. Now, typically, we also don't see a new all-time high until after a Bitcoin halving. So that would put us at around June or July next year. Now, with that in mind, we have a sort of limit on how much upwards momentum we can see prior to April next year. And similarly, we have had some very, very bearish news come into the markets in the last couple of months, and it's not been able to push us any lower. We have not been able to see any new lows for Bitcoin. So we do have some levels of support here, which are incredibly strong. And with that being said, if we have some strong levels of support, if we have a cap on how much higher we can go at this point in time, what's left to do other than sideways action? And this is what we've been saying on this stream for a very, very long time now, and the point still stands. We have some time to go here. We have some time that needs to pass before we see some really big volatility in the markets. And until then, sideways action might be something that we see more of and we need to come accustomed to. And that is what we've seen for the last month. But hopefully, sometime soon, we do see some nice volatility, because I think that's what we all like to see. But that is really all we have for today's stream. So thank you very much for watching. As always, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. That is all we have for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all